Welcome to another edition of the Game Preview Podcast. Ethan Greenberg, Cynthia Frelund back from the bye week, feeling recharged, except for Cynthia, who covers all 32 teams. So she keeps trudging along here, but here's the deal. Week 8, the Jets played the Patriots. They play them again. Both teams coming off a bye week. In Week 11 in Foxborough, the rematch of the 22-17 score against the Jets in MetLife Stadium. So that game was obviously widely defined by, or talked about, Zach Wilson's 3-interception game. That aside, Cynthia, like, what are things that you think the Jets should either duplicate or try to eliminate from the playbook entering Sunday?
Well, let's go with they should try to duplicate. The first thing there is the reliance and efficiency of the run game. So getting the run game going really, really well will help eliminate the opportunity for those costly interceptions and really keep the Jets in favorable downs and distances. That is the key on offense. And then on the other side of the ball, the real key to the Jets season, not just that one game against the Patriots, but also the entire season, is really about getting pressure using 4 or fewer pass rushers. So not blitzing. Jets blitz at the 3rd lowest rate in the NFL. When they do, it ends up being the 2nd highest pressure amount because it's strategic and it works really well. But only rushing 4 or fewer allows the defensive backfield to be flooded, so everyone is blanketed. It's harder to catch passes in that situation. And by the way, they're getting 30.7 pressure rate, which happens to be 7th best in the NFL. So it's not like they're foregoing pressure in order to be able to fulfill that objective. They're actually still able to get pressure. In fact, just very well and allowing for kind of that nice complementary aspect of, the defensive backs being able to be in tight coverage and also the front being mean to the opposing quarterback.
What about New England's offensive line? How do you think that compares to other offensive lines that the Jets have seen throughout the course of the year? Because the Jets defensive line played very well in these teams' first meeting.
I think that it's funny because the word that comes to mind is strange, like Cole Strange, their draft. Hey, she's got jokes, folks. But no, it's a strange situation because I've seen games where they're very efficient and effective, and then I've seen games where I have no idea what I'm looking at. And that's not typical of what you see from the Patriots. I think part of that is that they do have some new faces along that O-line, but also they're really adjusting to like a much more efficient running situation. Ramondre Stevenson has been, whoever says this, that like, hey, we've got just one running back for the Patriots that really seems to be like, the main guy. It's usually committees and confusion and all these different aspects, but maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that, and this is probably more likely, that Mac Jones doesn't have a dearth of pass catchers that are really like scaring defenses. So defenses can really hone in on bringing pressure to the line to try to get to Mac Jones very quickly. So I don't necessarily, it's not like I think Patriots typically, and I think good O-line. And this season, I'm kind of like average-ish O-line. And that seems strange to me.
Very Cole Strange to you.
Very Cole Strange.
I love that pun. The Jets had 6 sacks when these teams first met in Week 8, mostly by the defensive line. Quincy Williams did have a sack. So for the Jets offense, I mentioned Zach Wilson. He threw 3 picks. Obviously, he made a lot of headlines by the way that he played. He also threw for 355 yards and 2 touchdowns. When you look at the stats, or maybe that's not even a fair question, but like, what do you make of the way that he played against the Patriots? Everyone knows about the turnovers, but is there something else there that you think is not being talked about enough?
The Patriots often throw out disguised leverages. So it will look like it's man coverage and it'll be zone, or it'll look like it's zone and it's man. And it's very hard for young quarterbacks to adapt to what they're seeing because it's not normal. And that's something that has been a strategic advantage for the Patriots and Bill Belichick. Like that is what they do. Like that is it. Like that is like the most kind of profound thing that you always see from them. So it's not weird to see a younger quarterback struggle. I mean, we talk about it all the time. There's like a few things we oversay in all of football. Like 1, Andy Reid coming off a bye. And 2, it's like Bill Belichick against young quarterbacks. It's like the same thing over and over again. But the reality is he's showing different leverages, meaning you don't know if you're seeing, it's not just blitz or not blitz and fake showing blitz. It's also like, where is this? Is it nickel? Are they playing? So like, what is this? So it's very hard for younger quarterbacks to adapt to that.
Do you think that the Jets match up well with the Patriots, and does it benefit them playing them in such like a short time frame? Like, it's not like they saw them week 1 and week 18. This is week 8. one game bye, and then the Patriots again. So that's the Patriots in 2 out of the last 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, obviously, look, it's going to come down to the turnovers are likely going to, if you can eliminate the turnovers, if they had, and having that bye and being able to be like, okay, I got it again. Now we got James Robinson fully intact. Now we figured out, this is how our running playbook's going to work. It's far less likely that Zach Wilson will be put in a situation where 3 turnovers, let alone 3 interceptions, is a thing, right? That's not an ideal situation for anyone, any quarterback, let alone a young quarterback. So I think that it is an advantage facing them kind of on short order, get the rust off, get right back up on that horse and figure out how you're going to overcome that. But now with some new personnel, because it's very hard to lose Breece Hall. He was awesome. It's very hard to have different personnel. And a number of people, obviously I would like it if every pass catcher were available, and Corey Davis, obviously would be great, but they still have a lot of people on this offense that are able to catch passes.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Corey Davis and Breece Hall, because that leads us to the second quarter. I just want to talk about injuries. This is the first game, I think, that the Jets will play without Sheldon Rankins, Sheldon, which is one very sad for the Jets, even sadder for your neighbor. And so, yeah. Is he crushed about this?
I didn't tell him. We're not going to tell him. He's too young.
Tell him.
He's too young to know.
Fair. Okay. So in his mind, Sheldon might still play. In reality, Sheldon Rankins is not playing Sunday against the Patriots with an elbow injury. With the way that the Patriots run their offense and the way that Sheldon Rankins was playing, how big of a loss is this for the Jets?
It's a pretty big loss. Obviously, the defensive front in general, you do have a number of people there that are awesome and playing really, really well. So it's not as big of a loss as if there were fewer people also there to absorb some of the snaps that he was playing. But look at the beginning of that Bills game. He was balling out in that one. And that's a hard game to ball out in. So it was an unfortunate loss. But at the same time, the good news is there are a lot of other pieces that will be able to absorb some of that pressure. Quinnen Williams is basically having himself he better go to the Pro Bowl. If he doesn't go to the Pro Bowl, all of our fans need to put themselves in a timeout, because come on, he's having that kind of year. And CJ Mosley, I think I saw something coach said he was playing he's 24 years old, something good for him. That's great. And then, and then there's obviously just a ton of, other opportunities there for all of the things to be schemed against. Again, you're not replacing him, but it is at least an advantage to have a number of different options there to pick up some of that slack.
You did say Jets fans, if Quinnen Williams doesn't make it to the Pro Bowl, should put themselves in timeout. I actually did that once as a kid. I put myself into timeout. That is a fun fact about Ethan Greenberg.
For not voting for Sheldon Rankins, or for not voting for Quinnen Williams to go to the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, I know. I knew even back then I knew. So furthermore, Ramondre Stevenson, he's obviously, I feel like he's emerged as a big time running back for the Patriots, and they try to revolve their offense around him. What do you think about, how would you describe the way that the Patriots, their key or their roadmap to victory is? And does it revolve around Stevenson? It
does, actually. In part, sometimes you have to remember that, even if the run game isn't successful on a down by down basis, so you run on first and you only get 3 yards, that's not considered successful, right? Usually most people use 4 yards as the metric for success, and then half the distance to go, and then converting on third as their sort of, benchmarks. But the reality is even if you give a little extra time to that snap, it gives Mac Jones a minute to adjust to what he's been seeing from the defense. So sometimes, and it sounds very silly to say, but it's smart to run and kind of get a sense of what the defense is throwing out there for you, even if it doesn't net you in 4 or 5 yards on that particular down, as long as you're not doing it in nonsense situation. You wouldn't run on 3rd and 17, right? Some teams do, but that's not the best, most logical situation. But you can see that because he's had at least 100 scrimmage yards or a scrimmage touchdown in each of the last 5 games. That's a commitment to him. It's a commitment to using his skill set in order to create the situations where now we can pass off of this one. Oh, this is what I'm seeing. Oh, give me a little bit of slack. I just got pressured. Don't ask me to now again on the down after being pressured, throw right again, because again, like Mac Jones is young too. Like these guys need a little bit of, it's not like you can just go out there and suddenly become Patrick Mahomes, like in no snaps. Right. So that's really is a commitment to him, not necessarily each individual down being super efficient.
And that comes also back to Sheldon Rankins not playing, because if the Patriots want to run it up the gut, that's in the Jets starting defense, Sheldon Rankins and Quinton Williams next to each other. I'm interested to see what happens, because John Franklin Myers does kick inside in passing situations. Could he see more reps on the inside? Do the Jets call up somebody from the practice squad like Jonathan Marshall, who they drafted last year? There's a lot of options there, but I from your perspective as someone who covers the entire league, how unique is it that the Jets have this kind of defensive line depth? Because I think Jets fans are like, oh yeah, they have depth. That's like the way they want to run things. But I think it goes overlooked just how unique it might be.
Totally. I mean, I guess maybe because Jets fans are smart and they know that Robert Saleh is like a really good defensive front guy. So maybe they're like, well, we expect it. This is like his bread and butter. This is what he does. Right. But it's very unique that everyone contributes in such interesting ways. I mean, the fact that the Jets are the only team in the league with two guys who have at least 15 quarterback hits this season, I mean, that's pretty interesting, right? Obviously, Carl Lawson's the second and Quinton Williams is the first. Like, that's a testament to how there's a lot of different things going on. So offenses don't exactly know where to account for where the pressure's coming from. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a bit more rotating and those rotational snaps being something where, and it doesn't even need to be like a rotating from like in and out of the game, but like where someone's lining up to keep that, we used to call it like exotic fronts. Basically, it's just to keep the offense from knowing exactly where the pressure's coming from. Exotic, very exotic.
Very exotic, which is a great segue, because now we're at halftime and breaking news out of the bye week. Cynthia Frelund is now a proud dog mom.
Oh, I love my puppy so much. He's so cute.
We're going to need all the details. We need name, breed, where you got him, why you got him, and everything that goes with it.
Okay, so his name is Gordy, after Gordie Howe. I'm from Michigan, so I picked the best Red Wing that I could find. He's not as he's not as aggressive as Gordie Howe, which is good. We think that he is a Husky and German Shepherd mix. He's 4 months old. He was this could actually make me cry a little bit, because he was in a kill shelter, which I have no idea, because when you meet this dog, he is 0% aggressive. He barely barks, and he's potty trained. I have no idea how I got so lucky, but one of my coworkers at the NFL Network, she volunteers at the rescue that was trying to place him. She had been at an event where she was like, he's just the sweetest dog and you should meet him and blah, blah, blah. So I met him and one thing led to another. And now he is stolen my heart. He is the sweetest. He's just like, I can't believe he's a rescue. Like I have no, like he's got a great personality. I've been trying to find like his trauma. I even like gave him a bath myself, which I'm not good at doing that stuff, but like to see if he was scared. No fear. He's just so sweet. Good with kids, good with other dogs. Like he's really sweet.
Has he met your neighbor that calls Sheldon Rankins Sheldon?
Of course, they play all that. There's a park across the street from me. We go out and play. Sometimes Gordy chases some birds, and sometimes so does my neighbor.
What is Gordy's favorite toy?
Gordy loves his football. He has like 3 footballs. He's pulled the stuffing out of them though. But he also likes the pull rope. He likes a good game of tug of war,
Okay. And what's something that I don't want to say surprises you, but what's your favorite part now about Gordy? That's maybe not just like having a dog, like it's like next level stuff.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was telling you this before we were starting here. All of a sudden yesterday, I noticed he was looking like extra fluffy. Like I was like, am I not brushing him? Am I doing something wrong? I called the vet. The vet's like, no, that's just what happens when they get healthy. I was like, oh, I did something right. Got it.
Well done.
I was like, he looks like he's really fluffy. It's like, they're like, no, he's putting on his, because he was malnourished as a puppy. So his back, he's super skinny. So I try to feed him. I mean, he gets fed a lot because he's really cute. So, but we'll get him up to snuff here. And
are we trying to teach him some tricks or what?
He already knows how to sit, and he's very polite with his food, because I don't want him to scare people. I think he's going to be a little big. So I don't want him to jump, and I don't want him to steal his food without, I don't want to do like too
Right.
like in his. So that's
Yeah,
really the
I get it.
tricks we've had so far. But we got sit down. Sit is good.
Okay, sit's important.
Yep.
Here's how we're gonna end the halftime. And I'm putting you on the spot. If you could make like one trick, but somehow refer it to football, like go long, what would the trick be?
Well, we do have a number of football tricks already. We watch a lot of football together, and he helps me. But I think I would like him to have a good touchdown dance. I don't know how I'm going to teach him how to do that, but I think he needs like a very cute little touchdown dance.
Yeah, you could like have him do like spin in circles or something. So if you say touchdown, he'll just like spin around or something, or roll over.
He rolls over all the time, but I haven't taught. He doesn't know what he's doing when he's doing. He's just
naturally doing it.
He wants belly rubs. That's all he wants. He just wants his belly to be. He's so sweet.
Ooh,
I just love him so much.
Most importantly, what's his 40 time, and what do the analytics say?
By the way, he's incredibly fast. So he's not allowed off his leash until like we figure some stuff out. But
yeah.
I mean, he's really speedy. Like I was trying to like run with him to see how fast we go, and there's like on near where I live, there's like the thing that shows how fast the bikes are going. So, I mean, we got up to, we had 12 miles per hour. Like we were sprinting, but
Next Gen Stats needs to pay a visit to Gordy.
He does. Oh, he's so cute. I love him so much. Everyone should rescue a dog. I mean, it's the best feeling. He's so sweet. Oh,
look at that. Well, what a heartwarming halftime. This was a great halftime. Okay. Well, after this podcast, we all know that Cynthia Frelund is going to go see Gordy and rub his belly, but now he needs a belly rub.
Of course. Maybe he'll make a cameo one of these days,
We would love that. We need a Gordy cameo. But in the meantime, let's move on to the third quarter. And I think it is a great opportunity just to talk about both of these defenses because both very talented. We've talked about the Jets defensive line. Matt Judon leads the league in sacks. He had 3 the last time that he played, which was against the Indianapolis Colts at Foxborough. Then the Jets secondary, very, very talented. Patriots secondary, opportunistic, 17 takeaways. So just do you think that this game is going to come down, aside from turnovers again, to defense? Like, I feel like we say this every year, but do you think, again, this is the case?
I do, in large part because when I think of both of these defenses and how these coaches think, like go to the strength of each team, right? Like this is a situation where they are both the strengths of the team. And Matt Judon, by the way, I love when a guy comes from a small school. I think it's great. Grand Valley State, it's a very small school in Michigan. Like it's kind of cool to see someone be able to have that opportunity. And in fact, Sauce kind of comes from, I know Cincinnati's not that small, but it is relative to some of these SEC schools. So it's nice to see these guys having just disproportionate success from places that didn't get the whole Alabama treatment, So it's cool to see that. But the defensive fronts and bringing pressure, Bill Belichick is known for that as well. And it's also kind of both teams have some potential to create sacks based on their offensive line. So, it's kind of a strength versus strength here. I don't think this is going to be the highest scoring game of the weekend by any stretch of the imagination. And I do think it will truly come down to the fact that, which team is able to execute on their defensive game plan best. And obviously I need to bring up the fact that like Sauce has allowed like 20 when they've been playing man coverage, Sauce has given up 26 total yards this season, 26 and two yards since week 4, 2. That's a ridiculous thing. Like man is not going to work against this defense.
Okay. I just want to repeat that. You're saying since week 4, Sauce Gardner has allowed 2 total yards in man coverage. Wow. Okay. Well,
pretty good.
I'm going to take a sip of water because that blew my mind.
Yeah. And 26 total this season.
That's incredible. So what do you think about the matchup of these Patriots wide receivers then? Because in week 8, the Jets did pretty well against Mac Jones, specifically passing the ball. But this, I don't feel like, and it's no offense to the Patriots, is not the most talented receiver core that the Jets have seen.
Right. No, I think it's 2 things, right? Like this is an exceptional coverage defense. And I think right now PFF has them ranked second best, and they were ranked first best is that the word? They were ranked the best before some like really good play from the Broncos, and it's just a function of the bye, right? So it's the PFF grades are like within 1 point of each other. So this is a great coverage defense, and they're not a great passing offense. Both of those things can be true at the same time. So it's iron, like strength versus weakness. This is not I wouldn't. If I were looking for a fantasy wide receiver, I'm not looking to the Patriots, and I'm certainly not looking to the Patriots in this particular matchup.
What's the way to attack the Patriots defense? They're obviously opportunistic. They take the ball away. They're well coached. They have a good scheme. They know the scheme in and out. But how do you go about breaking that down?
I think quicker passes. You've seen Garrett Wilson line up all over the formation. He had a really good game against them last time, 115 yards. And I think a lot of it is kind of attack the level of the defense that gets you away from that pressure from Matt Judon. A nice quick pass, high probability pass, but mix it up with some runs so that the defense can't particularly like key in on where these quick passes are going and which routes they're trying to execute, because the Patriots teach, defense is taught like it can't be this process of elimination. And if you can keep it where the process of elimination includes a lot of variables against a defense, and any defense really, but specifically this one, then you have a much better chance of, because they do a masterful job of teaching that, like, it can't be this, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Willie McGinnis and I talk about that all the time at NFL Network about how the Patriots do that really, really well. So if you run, even if it's not the most effective or efficient run, do that just like they do. It's kind of the same formula, right? A little, get the run going and then mix in strategic, quick passes. So they don't need to be short passes. They can be quick passes, just ones that get out of the hand in less than 2.5 seconds.
And also the Jets, to your point and what you're talking about, the run, the Jets want to run the football. The last time they played, they beat the Bills, and the Jets had 34 rushing attempts for 174 yards, which is an average of 5.1 yards per attempt. But I wanted to wrap up the fourth quarter and just kind of talk about, like, from a general perspective, one, where the Jets are, two, like, this is a weird game because if the Jets win this game, they're in first place in the division. If they lose this game, they're in last place in the division. So what do you make of where the Jets are right now, like in terms of the standings, in terms of the division? And if they win Sunday, don't they set themselves up pretty well, it looks like, for the rest of the year?
I mean, I would encourage every team at this point, no matter which team you're talking about, even the Eagles, who, and the Vikings, who are, at the top of their standings and only have one loss apiece. Like, just take it one game at a time, because this is a time of year where injuries start to become the thing that differentiates teams that are true contenders from teams that aren't. So taking things one step at a time is crucial for everyone. I think it's very fascinating about the way that the standings go in the AFC East. It just tells you how top to bottom, this is much better division than maybe, than it has been in recent years, and probably even than we thought ahead of the season. So take it one game at a time. And I think, like, I just pulled my playoff rankings for who potentially is going to make the playoffs. And, if there's something Jets fans can sort of root for that has nothing to do with rooting for the Jets or against anyone else in the division, maybe you want the Bengals not to win, because that seems to be the flip-flop between who will make it to the postseason. If the Bengals can somehow keep winning or figure that out. But if the Jets can keep winning and the Bengals just drop a game here or there, which they're missing a bunch of pieces on their defense, it's possible. That's maybe the other thing. So in my models, Jets make it to the playoffs. And again, one game at a time, but playoffs are a very, again, one game at a time, but playoffs are a very real possibility.
I'm glad you mentioned that, being the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Well, first of all, the Jets don't own the tiebreaker there, because
that's right.
They lost to the Bengals in week 3.
That's why they got to be like, hey, so this week we're cheering for the Steelers.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. And also Cincinnati missing Jamar Chase right now. They're 5-4. If the season ended today, Cincinnati would be the 9th seed. So they missed the playoffs. Do you think, like, obviously you have to take care of, for the Jets, you beat the Patriots. That says enough there, what that means for the standings. Among the teams that are 5-4, New England, the LA Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals. how do you power rank the teams in terms of most likely to find their way in to not?
The hard part here is when I look at that, if you look at the Chargers roster, like if you go on Our Lads and look at who's on that team, you would think the Chargers should be the best. But look who's not been playing. And they haven't been. When's the last time Keenan Allen's even played? And Mike Williams has been out a lot too. And their run defense has been a nightmare. They also have a division where this week they're playing the Chiefs. Like, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with that. Now, that's not to say that the AFC East is any easier, because it most certainly is not. But it's a strange. The Chargers are in a strange spot because their roster just feels so like underperforming. Is that a word?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Where it is now. So that's interesting. The Bengals are, look, like there's no denying that, Joe Burrow is something special, and he's proven himself to be that. However, look at their injuries too. How long is this Jamar Chase injury going to last? And we don't know. And then, by the way, their secondary is missing a whole bunch of pieces too. And like, not just for a little while, like for a good while. And DJ Reader's coming back in the middle of that defense to help stop the run. But like, your secondary is really important. And you've seen them on downfield passes just totally since those guys have gone out, they've just totally like kind of, gone downhill there. So, like I said, it is, to me, this one comes down to injuries, because each of these teams has something that's like very, very powerful that could potentially help them. But at the same time, if none of those powerful things are playing, then, like I said, one game at a time. Because if I were taking any of those teams' defensive fronts, it is the Jets every single time. If I am taking any team's just defense, period, full stop on all of those, I am taking the Jets. But as we've seen, injuries, wild west of that.
Yeah, and I will say that, to your point about the Chargers, it feels like a lot of people are like, once they get healthy, they could get rolling. So
once they get healthy in 2025, they could get rolling. Like, when are they healthy? It's wild. Like, you never like. It's
wow.
strange.
Cynthia just fired shots. I love it.
I don't know. Tom Telesco has constructed a great roster. If they played,
wow.
I'm not the only. I don't think I took a shot.
I know you're not the only one. I know you're not, but I love that you just got very animated about that. Regardless, the Jets right now, the 5 seed. Could be something more, could be something less. We'll see what happens Sunday. That is how we're going to end the game preview podcast. Cynthia, nice to be back. See you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you next week. I'm glad you're back too.